Shalom and good day all, this is Tehillim29 back again for another Future State Fool's Gold review. Well, as you can see here, we've paid a little bit extra for this latest one here. It's at $7.99, so therefore it's just under $15 Australian. Well, this story has this comic has 4 stories in it, to which all of them will be rated, and also how much I think they're worth. This is my rating system of how I do the cover, the art, and the story, including total for the artist and writer. So let's get to it. Now, this is some art which this is in the story, and this art pretty much is all throughout the story, save to including around all except say the middle of the story, and I'll show you to where that is, or middle to end of the story. And this is towards the end of the story. Now, that aligning with the cover, it's now time to move on to the rating for the cover and the internal art. For the cover, I gave it a 7 out of 10, to which I believe the cover was worth about $1.50 in Australian dollars. The internal art, I gave a 6 out of 10. It did feel a little bit funny in some places that really needed it, but I did enjoy what the artist delivered in this. Now for the story, I gotta be honest, I don't like how this story was done. I think Philip K. Johnson should have switched this story around. I personally feel that he should have put where Superman was in this story at the beginning. And it would have made more sense to sort of like show what was happening at the beginning of the story at the end of this story. Like, taking into account, yes, it is part 1 of this, but I think it would have been better in relation to the story and the story that he was telling. So, in other words, I would have liked it if we started off in Warworld instead of in planet Earth, to where Superman was. Some of the locations that we go in this are in Smallville and, of course, Warworld. The cast, whoever the fucking character was at the beginning, I got no fucking idea. It makes it completely irrelevant. But I did like some of the ideas that were placed in the beginning, but I still reckon it would have been better if it was set towards the end of the story instead of the beginning of the story. I've looked at comments in relation to this particular comic itself, or this particular story itself, and many people brought across that, in a way, it sort of brings across how the readers feel about Superman and their interactions with Superman. And I think that was really good in sort of like world building character. Now, moving on to the second story, it involved... Oh, hold on. Before I do that, I got to give the rating for the story itself. In that, I gave the rating 4 out of 10, to which I believe the story was worth 90 cents, giving a total overall of $3.65. Now to the Mr. Miracle story. Now, this issue compared from this story compared to the last one, I felt it dropped a bit, and so did the art. Now, for the art, I gave this a 5 out of 10, so it became mediocre. The story I also gave 5 out of 10, to which gives the total overall of $2. The location, we still remain in War World, so we have Shiloh Norman, who is using certain technology. I'm not saying what technology, because some people don't actually know which technology that Mr. Miracle uses. Those who have read and studied up on the technology that Mr. Miracle uses in order to make his escapes will understand as to how Shiloh Norman, Mr. Miracle, has made his escape out of where he last was. We don't get much in this story, and I really felt that it lacked. Now, to move on to the next one, a story with Midnighter. Now, sorry about that, got a little bit tongue-tied. As we move into this story, the locations we see here are, of course, Warworld, and we also learn that this Warworld has a bit of a chrysalis core. And in this journey, we've got Midnighter, who is basically a Punisher version of Superman, if I were to put it that way. Yes, he's got powers, he's got strength and all that other nonsense, and he's also connected to something called the Authority, to which you might want to check out. Especially the Warren Alice. I have read the Steve Orlando one in regards to Midnighter and Apollo, and trust me, I didn't really enjoy it that much. So I'm glad someone referenced to me to go check out sort of like the original machination of where Midnighter and Apollo actually turn up. And I'm going to work on guessing that when I can. In the cast, we of course meet Midnighter, we meet some of the soldiers that are on this war world that are preventing Midnighter from doing certain things, and we get a bit of a surprise ending at the end of the story, to which we see Apollo, to which this is the friend who we know who's sending the message to Midnighter. The art, I gave this a 6 out of 10. So $1.25 is how much I thought it was worth, and I thought in relation to the story as well. I thought the same in relation to the story as well. To which it gives about a total of $3. Oh, no, incorrect. $2.50 overall. Moving into the last story, I actually liked this last story on the Black Racer. Now, this is the story around the Black Racer. Again, this also takes place on Warworld. And in this, we encounter some of the rings to which the Black Racer has basically been into. The art, it felt pretty consistent, it felt pretty good, so I gave it a 6 out of 10, and same with the story, 6 out of 10. In it, we learn about the Black Racer, who they are, in part, and how they came to be where they are. And in turn, yes, they do like racing, but they've also got other jobs to do. Apart from that, you didn't learn much else about the character, to which it would have been a little bit more nicer to have a little bit more background on the character. And this is why it got the overall total of $2.50 in this review. Well, I want to give a big thanks to all those who have been taking their time to watch these videos. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell. As you can see, I'm already on the road to 200 subscribers. Until then, let's keep it colourful and you are awesome. Shalom and good day all, this is Tehillim29 back again for another Future State Fool's Gold review. As we can see over here, this is how I do my rating system. I rate the cover, art and story in like general rating, and then I indicate how much I think they're all worth total, including for the artist. And here is the currency conversion for the comics that I'll be reviewing. $3.99 for the Catwoman, which is $7.15 Australian, and $5.99 for the Immortal Wonder Woman, which is just under $11 Australian. So let's get started with the Wonder Woman one. Now, starting off with the rating for the cover, this cover felt a little bit mediocre, especially in relation to the story and how it worked out. And it felt like it half fit, didn't completely fit in regards to the story. So in that, I gave the cover 5 out of 10, to which I believe it's worth about $1. Let's now move into the internal art. This is some of the internal art towards the beginning of the story, and some of the art towards the middle of the story. I also decided to give this art 5 out of 10. It was all nice, but it didn't feel that it didn't feel like it brought the story across strong enough. It is beautiful in its own right, but it just did not feel very consistent within the story. To this, I gave the art 5 out of 10, to which I believe it was worth $1. Now to the story itself. Now, in this story, some of the locations we went to was Themyscira, the Batcave, including the place to which Darkseid is housed in the Fourth World. Some of the people that we encounter are Big Barda, Superman, Swamp Thing, plus a couple of others. How did they feel in this story? I didn't like it that much. And in that, I also gave the story 5 out of 10, to which I believe it was actually worth about $1. But I will say one thing. The story after this, which I'm about to review, just got a little bit higher in the marks. Moving into the second story, this art I quite enjoyed, and it was pretty much consistent throughout the story. It could have been lightened a little bit more in some areas compared to a lot of the darkness that was there. Now, I want to bring up that I'm very new to Nubia's character. I don't know much about her. I've never really read anything into it. But I do enjoy what the artist has actually done here with the character of Nubia. That I did enjoy. Some of the places that we go to within the story are Atlanta and a nightclub called the Ebony Web, to which Nubia and her aunt basically work out of. It was really nice to see the interaction between Nubia and her aunt, but we also get interaction with a character by the name of Morris, who is pretty much the bouncer for the club, and I really liked how they set up that bouncer. And of course the Aunt Nancy. This, of course, takes place after, well, Wonder Woman has somehow left Earth at this time, but it's not really clear in the story as to how that occurred, to which that could have been improved as well. To which I gave the story 6 out of 10, along with the art, 6 out of 10, bringing a total for the story overall being $2.50. And $1.25 for the art, as well as $1.25 for the story. It did get me engaged, but not engaged enough. Time to move on to the Catwoman title. As we begin the Fool's Gold review for Catwoman, issue 1 of Future State, one thing that you can certainly take appreciation in is this cover. And this cover does work along with this story in a very big way. And immediately I give the cover a 7 out of 10, to which I believe it's worth $1.50. Now let's move into the internal art as we can go into rating that. We'll start off with something at the beginning, the middle, and we won't hit the end. Alright, this is some of the art at the beginning of the story. I really enjoyed how this was actually done, even for the story. And the way Ram V, he must have been bloody busy giving the script to the artist that he was working with in this story. I'll now move to the middle to show some art from there. One thing I really enjoyed with this art is also the consistency that was, to which there was attention within pretty much every panel. I didn't see much change, and very little in areas that are inconsistent. To which I also gave the art 7 out of 10. I really quite enjoyed what happened here, including within the story, to which I'll be moving on to next. And I believe it was actually worth that $1.50. Moving on to the story itself, there were some really nice things in relation to world building that really brought this out. We encounter places in Gotham such as Alleytown, much like Alley Cat. Very clever. I liked how Ram V actually introduced that into the story. And it, of course, it makes sense. I liked what was done there, and I thought it was very clever. Of course, we okay, some of the places that we go to are some of the train coaches. We went to train coach 12 to where the coach was, where the prisoner was actually being held, to which I really enjoyed, and I liked that. I was going to add something else in regards to the location, but I'm going to have to miss that for now. It was important that I did want to bring it up, but I'll have to leave it because of how much time I want this video to go for. Sorry about that. The cast included Catwoman, of course, Selena Kyle, Talia, which I really enjoyed her appearance as well. We also had the appearance of Cheshire. That was also with Selena Kyle. And for this, I gave the story 7 out of 10, to which I believe it was worth $1.50, giving the story an overall total of $4.50. So in essence, it's made up over half the profits, and I really like that. So thank you, Ram V, for this story. I look forward to what you're going to do in the next upcoming issue. Until then, please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Until then, let's keep it colourful. If you've now made it to the end of this video, you are awesome. Shalom and good day all, this is Tehillim29 back again for another Future State Fool's Gold review. And in this one today we are covering Shazam issue 1 and also the next Batman issue 2. As you can see over here, this is how my rating system works. And this is the currency conversion of each of the comics. The first comic, as you can see there, converts to $7.15, and I also give how much I think it's worth. The other one is actually, the one behind it is $7.99, which is under $15. So let's get started on Shazam. Now moving on to the rating of the cover. Does this cover match to stuff that happens inside the story? You'd be surprised, but yes it does. I'm really happy with that, because sometimes you get covers that don't quite match what is happening inside the story, and it comes off as, well, false advertisement. This one actually did a good job, to which I gave the cover rating 7 out of 10, to which I believe it was worth $1.50. Now let's have a look at the internal art, the beginning, middle and end, right. Now this is some art at the beginning of the story. Very incredible. I like the way how this was done, and I enjoyed it, the beginning as well as the middle, and of course the end. So let's move to the middle next. As you can see, it looked like the artist paid a lot of attention to what they were being told script-wise. And it was really nice to see, well, the change from light to dark, to light to red hot dark. And I felt like it brought across the story very well. So let's move on to the end. Now this is towards the end of the story, and through it I gave the art overall 7 out of 10, to which I felt it was also worth the $1.50. The next thing we move on is the story. Now this story takes place sort of like after some of the things that happen in the Shazam title, as well as in relation to some things that happen in the Future State Teen Titans title. And some of the locations that we get to see here in the story is the JLA Bunker, Iron Heights, Philadelphia, and of course, Hell itself in the DC Universe. The cast being made up of Billy Batson, Vic Sage, The Question, which was really good. I enjoyed his appearance in this. Miss Martian, Giganta, the Creeper, Dr. Zubu, and of course Shazam, Constantine, and a couple of others. In this story as well, it revolves around Billy Batson basically doing what he can do to keep hope in the character of Shazam, because as we all know, when Billy Batson calls out Shazam, he turns into Shazam. So in turn, he has to make a deal with pretty much the devil. And it's crazy. but it's a way to keep things intact in the DC universe. It was an interesting concept, I must admit, to which I gave the story 6 out of 10, to which I felt it was worth, instead of $1.50 like before with the art and also the cover, I felt like it lost, say, 25 cents. So it's $1.25, with the total overall being $4.25. Now, time to move on to the next Batman, issue 2. As we finally move into the next Batman, issue 2, this cover didn't work in relation to the story. No. In that, I sort of felt it flopped very much big time. No hate against the writer, I'm just addressing the story. Jason Fox is Beta Man. Not Batman, but Beta Man. It is interesting here, to which I give the story, or I give the cover for the story 2 out of 10. It didn't feel like it really fit with the story. I think you could have used something different. Now, moving into the internal art, I'll just cover what's at the beginning and also the end of the story. Now, this is some of the art at the beginning of the story, to which I did actually enjoy the art internally. And I'll show you... I'll now move on to some art towards the end of the story and give my rating. Who cares about the spoilers at this point? But I still enjoyed the art. And I also liked what happened here. So the rating I gave for the art was 7 out of 10, to which I believe it was worth $1.50. Now, before I move into the next story, it's time to move into the cast of characters who were in the story. Of course, we've got Nakano, who's connected to the Magistrate, which was interesting. It wasn't a very strong story, but it would be nice to see who exactly the fucking Magistrate is. Like, playing all this subtle shit is going to bore the audience. And this audience is getting bored already. Sure, you've given us things around the Magistrate and around the system of the Magistrate, but never presented the Magistrate themselves to this story. Now, I don't know who's in charge of this, but I think they should get their ass in gear or get fired. Of course, we've got the Tim Fox Batman and also the Peacekeepers that make an appearance in this. The location, well, it's mainly in Gotham. The story also revolved around someone who was, or some parents trying to basically stop some child sex trafficking. I thought that was a good idea within the story. But I'd rather Bruce Wayne be doing that instead of Tim Fox Batman. If you really want to help make Tim Fox his own character, like Jason Fox his own character, alright, listen to this right now and act on it. Stop trying to make Tim Fox Batman. How about you make Jason Fox Gotham's version of Iron Man? Don't forget, doesn't Lex Luthor practically have his own Superman iron suit of his own? Hey, what if that was in fucking Gotham? I'd enjoy that. I would totally enjoy that. Of course, we'd still have Luke Fox as Batwing. And you could call him the Iron Knight. Right? That makes a little bit more sense in regards to what you're trying to deliver here. Time to move on to the next story. This next story I really enjoyed. As you can see, a little bit of art there around the start, and some art around the middle, or roughly the middle. There is also a third story in this, but let's move into what I thought of the art right now. In this, I gave the art a 7.5 out of 10. I really enjoyed this story, to which I believe the story was worth $1.75. That's right, $1.75. For the story itself, I also gave it 7 out of 10. Some of the things that are introduced in this story is how the magistrate runs their prison system, or runs their reform system. And I really enjoyed that because it built onto the world that it's actually showing here. Of course, we had Cassandra Cain, Stephanie Brown, and Oracle, which also made an appearance. The locations were the Magistrate's Detention Facility at Gotham. And I really enjoyed what this story gave. It had a lot of potential. It felt like it could go somewhere compared to the previous story. And that's why this story gets a total overall of $3.25. Thank you very much to who wrote this story. Now to move on to the third story in this list. As we now move into the third story of this list, this did not feel like the Gotham City Sirens. I might as well call them the Captain Cosplay Sirens, because that's how it felt. The Ivy here felt like a cosplay. The Selena here felt like a cosplay. Whoever the fuck else was there felt like a fucking cosplay. This story was atrocious. Absolutely atrocious. It's stuff like this that you don't want in comics. Now, for the art, even though it was what it was, it remained consistent with what it was delivering. I gave it a 5 out of 10, to which I believe it was worth $1. Story otherwise, though, that was another thing. It wasn't really clear in what it was trying to deliver in the story. Yeah, there were some good things that were added, but this shouldn't even be in the comic. This is something that you would put up on a fucking fan fiction site. That's how terrible it was. Yes, I enjoyed the characters looking feminine. That was nice. But I'm talking art, not the actual story itself. It takes place in Gotham City. We never really get the actual location of where it takes place in Gotham City. Yeah, even though it might point it out in a sign, I'd prefer it to be shown directly to the audience. To which I gave the story 1 out of 10. To which I believe the story was worth, well, $0.10. That's how bad I thought it was. Yeah. Not happy. You can do better than this, DC. If you want to put stories like this out, maybe test them out on digital first and see how popular it is before you put it in a bloody comic like this. And this is why I've got Fool's Gold. And this is Fool's Gold at the highest degree. Don't pick this up. Don't pick this up. Well, now that's the end of this review. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Until then, let's keep it colourful. As you can see, I'm also on the road to 200 subscribers. And if you'd like to help make that possible, a big thank you to you, because it's you, the subscribers, that do help make this possible. So I can work on sharing my next goal with the audience. And you are that audience. You'll see my goal in the description below of what I want to do. I don't know what I'll do for my next big goal yet, so if you'd like to make any suggestions, leave it in the comments. It could be a live stream to celebrate the next big the next big goal I reach. I don't know yet, but I'm open to any ideas, any suggestions, and I'll probably pick the best idea that I think will work for the channel. Until then, let's keep it colourful. And if you've now reached the end of this, you are awesome.